Don't think for a moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not hear you crying. Don't think for a moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not in the pain with you. Don't think for a moment that those cries, those tears, that blood that was shed was for nothing. All of that is part of the perfect calculations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whether I'm hearing the cries, whether I'm hearing the pain, I'm already there with it. The next question everyone will naturally ask is, if he hears me cry, then why doesn't it seem like he's answering? Tonight, Rabotai, we're going to talk about some real-life issues that are not just some things that I have knowledge from the books, but very much so from my own life. But tonight, this is going to be one of the shiurim that is going to be one of the foundational shiurim that's going to help you in your life. Because when it comes to life, it doesn't matter who you are. You know, you were born rich, you were born poor, you were born religious, you were born secular, born Jewish, born not Jewish. It doesn't really make a difference who you are and where you started and where you are today. Everyone, absolutely everyone goes through tough times. There's simply no question about it. And sometimes a person goes through such difficulties, whether it's a health difficulty, financial difficulty, relationships, children, parents, whatever it is, addictions. Sometimes a person's difficulty is so much so that they truly feel like they're alone. They truly feel like they're crying alone and no one is listening. And really the question is, does God actually hear your lonely crying? Now, everyone has heard that Hashem heard Am Yisrael cry in Egypt, and we learned that again in Parashat Vayera. He heard our cries, He answered our cries, but the question still remains in everyone's heart at times, and certainly in their mind, whether He hears your cry. Okay, so He heard Am Yisrael 3,300 years ago, and He heard some other people that you heard about that they got a salvation. But when a person is going through difficulty, when they're agonizing in pain, whether it's financial pain or physical pain or spiritual pain or whatever it is, and you feel completely alone, you can feel completely miserable. Some people even get to the point of wanting to commit suicide. Unfortunately, somebody sent me a letter just the other day and telling me that they're in such pain and agony, they're asking me if it's halachically permissible for them to kill themselves. And of course it's not, but the point is, the fact that a person got to that level of pain, which I'm very familiar with, is certainly tragic. The answers, Rabotai Karim, are in the Torah to these questions of whether HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to your cries. Now, the next question everyone will naturally ask is, if He hears me cry, then why doesn't it seem like He's answering? I mean, okay, so He hears. Great, but I'm still in pain. I'm still in a loss. I'm still in agony. Why isn't He answering me? He answered them. He answered this guy. He answered this. That's in essence one of the things that a person asks, especially during their weak moments. Now, these are critical questions that you have to have the answers for your particular case in order to have the proper ideology and the proper perspective that's needed during those difficult times that you may have had or are having or perhaps will have in the future. The longer you live, the more of these bumps in the road, and sometimes bumps that are big enough to be craters, are you going to go through. And without the proper ideological perspective that's needed, a person can go through much more difficulty than necessary. Parashat Vayera starts with a rebuke. Who is Hashem rebuking? No, He's not rebuking Egypt. No, He's not rebuking Am Yisrael. He's actually rebuking Moshe Rabbeinu. Because in last week's parasha, in Parashat Shmot, Moshe Rabbeinu cried out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and asked Him, why aren't you helping Am Yisrael like you told me you're going to do? Since you sent me there, things have gotten worse. They're crying out even more. They're being tortured even more. And if you aren't going to help them for your reasons, which certainly are justifiable, I just don't know them, why did you send me then? HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Moshe and says to him, I am Hashem. Now obviously, Moshe Rabbeinu knows who Hashem is. And Rashi tells us that Hashem is telling him he is Hashem, meaning that he gives reward and punishment in accordance to his calculations that are beyond our comprehension. But the way we understand this, that this is actually a rebuke to Moshe Rabbeinu, and not just a blanket statement, is by the usage of words in the Torah, where instead of saying Hashem spoke to Moshe, rather it says Hashem spoke to him in a rebuking voice. And why is HaKadosh Baruch Hu rebuking Moshe? Because Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, I am Hashem. The fact that you have questioned me in itself is not ideal, obviously, to say the least, but the fact that you are trying to remind me of my children crying, of my children suffering, that is the bigger problem. As it says in verse number 5 in chapter 6, and I also heard the outcry of the children of Israel. Obviously, we know that Hashem also heard. If we know, certainly Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of all prophets, knows that Hashem heard. But Hashem emphasizes here, I also heard. I know that you see your brother suffering, your sister suffering, your parents suffering, your children suffering, and you're crying out to Hashem, and it seems like He's not answering you because the kid's still in pain, because there's still helplessness and hopelessness in them, and you're crying out to Hashem to help. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, what do you think? You're the only one that sees my kids crying? You think you're the only one that has pain by seeing your loved one? You think you love them more than I love them? This, Rabotai, is the first critical thing that a person must always keep in mind. When you are suffering and you're praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it seems like He's not answering you, it seems like your loved one is still in pain, he's still in agony, she's still in agony for whatever reason or another, don't think for a moment that those tears are going to waste. Don't think for a moment that any prayers, any tzedakah, any good deed that you've done goes to waste. V'gam ani shamati. HaKadosh Baruch Hu certainly hears everything, and even more so when a person is in their own personal abyss and they're dealing with things that they could not even imagine their enemies having. Don't think for a moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not hear you crying. Don't think for a moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not in the pain with you. V'gam ani shamati. Moshe Rabbeinu, as the leader of my children, for you to think for a moment that this is not part of the calculations that I already did before the world was even created. Now, obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Moshe Rabbeinu to go and be the messenger, be the Mashiach that is going to take Am Yisrael out. But the original decree was for 400 years, as HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Avraham Avinu. Am Yisrael has been in Egypt for 210 years. Out of those 210 years, 116 of them have been suffering agony beyond anyone's comprehension, beyond the Holocaust, beyond the pogroms, beyond October 7th, beyond anything imaginable. But yet there was a decree for 400 years, not 116. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order to shorten the decree, expedite the end, He had to increase the suffering several times fold for one day to be equivalent to much more than that in order to get that decree to be what it was. The sages teach us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has your best interest, and sometimes will increase the suffering before the salvation, not because He wants you to suffer more, but rather because if you understood the calculation of what He has decreed according to the laws of the Torah that He created, you'd realize that it's in your favor. So Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem says, my dear son, of course I knew when I sent you there that He's not going to listen to you, and in fact He's going to make things worse, but that's in the best interest of my children. That extra suffering is worth countless more years than you can imagine, and therefore I'm able to take them out now without changing the decree. And in fact, Moshe Rabbeinu hears HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then hears the words every single one of us wants to hear when we are suffering. We want to hear about the salvation. We want to hear about what's it going to look like, what's going to happen. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us 4 words of salvation to make you Egypt understand what salvation actually looks like. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I shall take you out, and I shall rescue you, and I shall redeem you. Now while all of these sound synonymous, the truth is that each one of them has a significantly different meaning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I shall remove the Jews from the burden of slavery, even before they were permitted to leave the country. Even though they're not leaving Egypt right this second, they're not leaving Gehenom right this second, I'll stop the pain. Even though you're having major issues, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the salvation comes, it's not going to come in such a way where you go from being broke to being a billionaire, being lonely to being married with 4 kids. No. First, HaKadosh Baruch Hu stops the pain, even if the world around you didn't change. Second, I shall rescue you. God will take out the Jews out of Egypt, meaning their subjugation in Egypt will end. Eventually, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, when I bring you your salvation, not only will the pain stop, but you will no longer be in that position anymore. You will no longer feel the threat of falling back in, of being lonely again, of being sick again, of being poor again, of being in pain again. I'll remove you from that altogether. That's the second step of the salvation. Third, I shall redeem you. Now in the Torah, it's referring to the miraculous splitting of the Sea of Reeds into 12 different tunnels, as the Rambam writes and draws actually, where Am Yisrael came into the ocean on one side and returned on the same side, meaning they didn't go like in the movies where it makes you think that they went from one end to the opposite end, but rather they went in a semicircle like a rainbow. And each tribe got their own personal salvation, their own personal splitting and tunnel in the water where they're able to go in, but yet come back in the same place. Why? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted Am Yisrael to go, but for the Egyptians not to see them arrive at their destination, but rather only see them turning the corner constantly so they don't know where they are. And therefore entice the Egyptians to follow them and eventually drown and destroy the Egyptians. The Chachamim say that the Egyptians got punished 250 different plagues inside the ocean, much more than what they got in Egypt. The amount of miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made during this time is beyond comprehension. And that's in essence what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you. Yes, you're crying in your room, in your office, in your hospital bed, and wherever you are, in your car. You feel like the world is ended. Life is ended. It's not worth living. Only the Satan wants you to think that way. The salvation comes, yes, the pain will stop, but it won't stop like you think where you won the lotto. No, at some point the pain stops. At some point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed you from that situation. At some point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes miracles. Not just for Am Yisrael 3,300 plus years ago, but even for you today, in this world. In the fourth step of the salvation, I shall take you. Hashem took the Jewish people as His own people. What does it mean, Velakachti? Now, while you could easily rationalize, yeah, He took them to Israel. No, that's not what He's referring to. I took you as a nation. Meaning, just because you got the salvation, the pain stopped, you're removed from that situation, you got some miracles, it didn't end there. No. I took you as my nation. You are now under my oversight, where you now have Ashgacha Prati, divine providence at all times. Every single day you wake up, you see Hashem in your life. Every single time you eat, every single time you go to the bathroom, every time you make a business deal, every time you send an email, every single time you get an email or a text, every single move of your life, you see Hashem in your life, which is the ultimate blessing above all blessings. Ashgacha Pratit. Because when you know that Hashem is with you, who can be against you? You know now for certain there is no turning back before this time. But Rabotai Kalim, this salvation doesn't come for free. Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm ready to do all of these. All of these salvations are going to happen. Don't think for a moment that those cries, those tears, that blood that was shed was for nothing. All of that is part of the perfect calculations of Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the path is set. Moshe Rabbeinu says, yeah, but I told him what you said. Paro didn't listen to me, and even the people didn't listen to me. They're too busy with fighting the fight. Yes, they're fighting the wrong fight. If they want that salvation, then the verse number 11 says, Bo, daber el Paro melech Mitzrayim. Come, speak to Paro, the king of Egypt. Now, technically, if you are telling somebody to go get you something, whether it's go give somebody a message for you, go get you a drink, go pick up an envelope for you, whatever, go do a job for you, whatever it is, you tell them, go over there and take care of it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Bo. Bo means come. What does it mean, come? The Ibn Ezra says, yes, Hashem says, come into the city, come into the royal palace. But Chazal also give us further clarification of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, come instead of go. Why? Moshe Rabbeinu cried died for Am Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was willing to die for Am Yisrael to such an extent that when people ask, why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring the salvation even sooner? When you hear the horror stories of what Am Yisrael suffered in Egypt, how they were killing their children for not meeting their quotas. If he didn't build enough stones, they took the kid and they put him and replaced the stone with a kid. The horrible things they did to the Jewish people. Why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring the Mashiach sooner? That's because, as our sages teach us, no one was willing to die for Am Yisrael until Moshe Rabbeinu came. Meaning, yes, everybody wanted to save Am Yisrael, but everyone had a red line that weren't willing to cross. Yeah, I'm willing to help him out, but up to a point. How much are you willing to help him out? I'll help him with time, I'll help him with resources as far as my contacts, but when it comes to money, no. Oh, I'll help him with money, but when it comes to a lot of money, no. I'll help him with this, but everybody has a line. Oh yeah, I love him like a brother. You want to die for him? No. Well, that's the difference. Chazal says that Moshe Rabbeinu was willing to die for every single Jew. And in fact, if it wasn't for Moshe Rabbeinu, we would still be in Egypt today 3,300 years later. So now, Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, Moshe, we came this far. The salvation is here. Everything is set. They don't want to listen, but you have to come and do this next part. Come to Egypt. Why come to Egypt? Because while you were questioning whether I'm hearing the cries, whether I'm hearing the pain, I'm already there with them. I'm already there with Am Yisrael, my dear children that are crying and suffering. This is one of the things that a person fails to realize. When they don't have a deep connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu through His Torah, and they have some type of idolatrous belief in some guy that died for you, or they have some wrong belief, even if they believe in Hashem, they believe in the Torah, but they don't have the proper ideology. When push comes to shove and they go through hell in life, they're losing, they're suffering, they're crying, immediately the Satan convinces them that they are alone and this pain will never end. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, yes, when I decreed the pain, there was already a decree of when it's going to end. Now, in order for you to get the salvation, come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't go try to figure out something else. Come to Hashem, because Hashem is already standing on top of your solution, waiting to give it to you. So now, Rabotai Yekarim, a person that is in what they would consider their life's dilemma. They are in pain, in agony. They feel like it's never going to be over. They've lost their money, they lost their loved one, they lost their health, whatever they lost. They're in their car, they're in their room, and they're crying hysterical. And they feel like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not listening. Maybe he hears them, but doesn't seem like he's doing anything about it. What do you do? A little over 18 years ago, I had a surgery where something went wrong. And for a little over 18 years, I've had pain and have pain every single day. Of course, the first 7 years, which I told you guys small parts about it in the film and other lectures, I never gave the full story because that's just simply not something that is comprehensible by the vast majority of society. But the parts that I told you about, the first 7 years was agonizing, was Gehenom on earth, and certainly improved since then, but the pain continues and has continued every single day for 18 years. I don't know what it feels like to be healthy. I look at people running, walking, and doing all types of things, waking up in the morning without pain. I don't understand how that could be. It's been that long. I don't understand how it could be that someone doesn't have pain because of how ingrained it has become in my life. But I can tell you one thing: the amount of pain that I had throughout all of those 18 years and continue to deal with every single day, Baruch Hashem, has been the greatest blessing of my life, because that's what it took to get me out of Gehenom. Now, I don't mean out of Gehenom just being a Mechalet Shabbat and going to Gehenom and all that stuff. No. Out of Gehenom in this world means out of a world where you think for even a second that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not with you, holding your hand, crying with you. You see, before I learned Torah, before I changed paths and dedicated the rest of my life for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, however many years or days or minutes He gives me, all I had was me. Yeah, I had my wife. She's the greatest wife in the history of wives. She's the best. But on a personal level, you're crying and you're in agony and you're in pain and you're screaming, but no one can help you. When the solution to your problem is more painful than the actual problem. When you wake up screaming the scream of a lifetime, where because you feel like you're being electrocuted and cut open at the same time without any anesthesia. And it happens every single day. And the doctors that want to give you a solution literally make the problem worse. They forget their brain at home. They start doing procedures without anesthesia. They start forgetting things. The craziest things in the world happen. When you live through all of that, when your friends become enemies, when what you thought was valuable becomes literally gone, whether it be money or possessions, positions, whatever it is, you get to a point where you feel like, I'm alone, I have nothing. Now, other people may look at you like, yeah, but you still have this and you still have that, and you say, yeah, but this and that is all worthless now. Why? Because the perspective has changed. Now, when a person deals with the pain of being alone, it's much, much worse than the pain itself, whatever the pain may be, whether it be money or be health or be whatever it is. When you feel like your problem is never gonna go away, when you feel like there is no salvation, there is no hope, when you get to that abyss called hopelessness, and you now have to decide whether to live with this hopelessness or to give up altogether, there's nothing more painful than that abyss. So you see, Rabotai, once I understood that the hand that hit me is also holding me, is also protecting me, is also with me, I started thanking Hashem for all of it. Yes, on one hand, you're in agonizing pain, and sometimes to the point where screams come out of your mouth without your control. But the second you gain control, you say, Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem. Yes, something bad happens and you lost this and that, and for a moment you're upset, you even want to be angry, and sometimes you are angry. But the second you collect yourself and you realize, wait, hold on a second, Hashem took that. Thank you Hashem, Baruch Hashem. So you see, before that transition happened, the ultimate Gehenom wasn't the pain, it was the loneliness, it was the hopelessness. And that's why even though the pain continued and is now still going for 18 years, we don't let that stop us for a second, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses us every single second, that even though I can't do some of the things that apparently healthy people do every day and take for granted, HaKadosh Baruch Hu never took my ability to serve Him away. I can still pray, I can still learn Torah, I can still teach, I can still help people, I can still do countless things. And for that somehow I have strength. I may not have strength to sometimes walk across the room, but if I have to lift 50, 100, 200 boxes to go send it to Am Yisrael to do kiruv, the strength appears. The second I finish, I'm back to being crippled. How does it work? I don't know. He runs the world. Ask Him. And that's the greatest thing in the world. Why? Because you understand that not only you're not alone, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you. And therefore, when Rabbi Akiva said, everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu did and everything that He does is always the best, you can see that through the suffering. You don't have to wait perfect sunrise, perfect heaven for you to enjoy, for you to be happy, for you to live literally as if you are in Gan Eden, despite the problems. Why? Because you have a Kadosh Baruch Hu with you, and there's nothing greater than that. When a person starts understanding where they stand and what a Kadosh Baruch Hu is doing for them, then it becomes easier to realize that there is no punishment in this world that's the ultimate punishment. This world wasn't designed for punishment. Now, of course, if you look around, especially if you live long enough, you see a lot of people look like they're being punished. This one has cancer, this one lost all of his money, this one's getting divorced, this one's kids are drug addicts, this one is this one is that. It looks like they're all being punished. Yes, it does look like. But you see, in this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings kaparat avonot, meaning the suffering, the agony, the difficulty that you have, that's causing you to cry, that's causing you to want to end it all, is all to your favor, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to simply redirect you. You're on the wrong path, I need you to go elsewhere. You're going right, you need to go left. You're going left, you need to go right. You're going against Hashem, you need to go towards Hashem. Someone will say, yeah, but there's religious people too. Yeah, what do you think? Religious people don't have issues? Not just financial and the rest of the world, but they also have emunah issues. They have heretical issues. They have all types of issues. They have also previous carnation issues. They have all types of things. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives each and every single one of us the perfect amount of kaparat avonot in order for us to eliminate the possibility, or at the very least, the sentence of the real punishment that could be and would be if not for that kaparat avonot. And that punishment is not here. It's in the world of truth, a place where we've learned extensively about, we've made a couple of films about, and we scratched the surface of what's really there. You see, Rabotai Karim, when a person gets their suffering here, that's a Kadosh Baruch Hu's kindness in order to redirect you, in order to re-navigate you, in order to remove the sentence, the decree from you you. Because if not for that, and you arrive at the world of truth, at the judgment of heaven, with a full bill, there's no more opportunity to erase. There's no more opportunity to change. There's the punishment. There's the sentence that doesn't change. There's no more prayers. There's no more tzedakah. There's no more hopes that October 7th is not going to be your daily life. There's no more learning Torah. If a person leaves this world with the full 400-year decree of Egypt, there's no way to lower it to 210 or 116 or even to 399. So you see, Rabotai Karim, everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is the best when you go to Hashem and you connect to Him and you realize that He is with you. You think you love your kids more than Hashem loves them? You think you love your wife or husband more than Hashem loves her? All of the love of all of the humans that ever existed are not comparable to how HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves any one of us. The moment I made the decree, I already had the date of when the salvation would come and the strategies of how to shorten the decree, of how I can bring them, the 4 levels of salvation, to take them out, to rescue them, to redeem them, and to make them mine. But in order for that to happen, come, I'm already there. Rabotai, I may not know much in Torah or in anything else. I know pain. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave me not just the experience, but a certain, let's just call it, feeling other people's pain. Can't see it, hard to hear about it, but have to. So when you tell me about your pain, it's not just me reading words or listening to a voice. And that's why I'm telling you this stuff, not just from the Holy Torah that doesn't need my help. I'm telling you this from the experience because HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues to help me by giving me the experience. You want a solution? You want a salvation? You want to stop feeling like you're crying alone? Go to Hashem. The solution, the salvation, is drastically more beautiful than you can ever imagine for yourself. But don't think it works like you think. The salvation is better. The salvation is much more extraordinary, but it works different than what you think. And if you have decided to go towards Hashem, you'll see it perhaps even better than I do. And I, B'ezrat Hashem, wish and pray that you succeed in doing that, because that salvation was already decreed on every single one of you before the decree to punish, to suffer, to hurt, to cry even became a thought in your mind. Go towards Hashem. He's already there waiting for you. Anyone that wants to donate and support, you can donate cryptocurrency as well as the traditional donations on our website, be'ezrathashem.org. On the donate page over there, there's different options, whether you want to send a check, or wire, or credit card, or cryptocurrency, and in fact, even stock. Either way, Rabotai, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot, Be'ezrat Hashem, to help. But take advantage of the offer of getting one of these boxes into your community. Because of course, we listen to the sages not only about mitzvot, but also about the strategy. So aside from giving everyone an opportunity to do kiruv and do a mitzvah by giving them one of these amazing posters that look just like this, very good quality plastic, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, but we have a little bit of a secret weapon in each and every one of them. Anyone that wants to support kiruv will have an opportunity by scanning this QR code. Anyone that wants to get inspired will also have another QR code where they can watch a Shiur Torah. Either way, the goal of this, Rabotai, is to help Am Yisrael do more mitzvot and to learn more Torah. And by combining the mitzvot of the Torah with the learning of the Torah, we can win this war against Amalek. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will.